Hey, I'm Jusko from ProbMoney.com, and in this video we are going to talk about your Chase Trifecta strategy, specifically what is the best first Chase card to get and where do you go from there. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already. And if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So Chase is oftentimes seen as having the best ecosystem in the credit card industry ecosystem, meaning that if you carry more than one card from that issuer, you can combine points and perhaps you can even get a boost to those points that makes them worth more than the face value would suggest when you first got the card. And you may know about the Chase Trifecta or Chase Quadfecta, which means you get either 3 Chase cards in the case of the Trifecta, 4 in the case of the Quadfecta, and when you do this, you anchor them with one of the Chase Sapphire cards or perhaps the Chase Ink Business Preferred card in order to get a boost of 25% or 50% on those points when you use them toward travel through Chase's Ultimate Rewards portal. Now you get a 25% or 50% boost depending on which of the cards I just mentioned on those cards themselves, but when you combine the points from the other cards, the Chase Freedom cards in particular, you are going to get that boost even on those points, even though those cards, when used alone, would not offer you that boost. So having one of the Sapphire cards or the Chase Ink Business Preferred allows you to essentially take one of the nice features of those cards and put it onto another Chase card in order to maximize your points and get more than face value, like I just said. But then you might also know about Chase's 524 rule, a sort of unofficial rule from Chase that says Chase is not going to approve you for a credit card if you have already gotten 5 credit cards within the past 24 months. So if you want the Chase Trifecta or the Chase Quadfecta, that means you're going to have to make a certain commitment to Chase in order to make that happen. So knowing that you are going to need one of those Chase Sapphire cards or the Chase Ink Business Preferred in order to get a boost on your points when you carry multiple, and knowing that you've got that 524 rule that is going to stop you from getting too many credit cards at the same time and making you commit to Chase to some extent, at least in the short term, the question that often comes up is which Chase card should I get first? Does it matter? Should I start with the Sapphire cards? Should I start with other cards and then build my way up to it? And the answer, like so many questions in the credit card world, is it depends. And the reason it depends is because if you want to get one of the Chase Sapphire cards or you want to get the Chase Ink Business Preferred card, it may not be that easy depending on where you are on your credit card journey, and it may not be that easy to maximize the rewards, specifically the bonus on those cards, unless you are prepared to spend a lot of money in a short period of time. Specifically, let's look at what each of those 3 cards that I talked about actually requires in order for you to get them. The Chase Sapphire Reserve has a minimum credit line of $10,000. So, based on where you are in your credit journey, you may not qualify to get a credit line of $10,000. So if you don't believe that you are in that place, well then that one is going to be closed off to you. In addition, there is a bonus offer on this card of 50,000 points if you spend $4,000 in the first 3 months of having the card. So can you get a $10,000 credit line? Can you spend $4,000 in those first 3 months in order to take advantage of that bonus? If you can't say yes to both of those, then you probably don't want to go after that card right at the beginning. The Chase Sapphire Preferred similarly does have a credit line minimum of at least $5,000. Obviously, half of the Reserve card. Are you at a place where you could qualify for at least a $5,000 credit line? If you're very new to credit, you probably aren't there yet. If you have a little more credit history, perhaps you are. In addition, it has a bonus of 60,000 points if you spend $4,000 in the first 3 months of having the card. Again, can you spend that $4,000? Now, the Chase Inc. Business Preferred Card is another one to consider. $5,000 minimum credit line. Obviously, they are going to want you to have your own business. You can get an 80,000 point bonus on this card as of the making of this video, which is amazing. But you do have to spend $5,000 with the card in the first 3 months in order to do that. Do you have a business? Can you get a credit line that high, and can you spend that much? So depending on where you are, you may want to start with one of the cards I just talked about, or you may need to start somewhere else with Chase. So let's walk through the scenarios for every possible credit card user. Now, if you're completely new to credit, you're probably not going to get approved by Chase at all. You're probably going to have to start somewhere else with another credit card company. Chase is really not in the business of giving out credit cards to people with no credit history. So you're probably gonna have to have a card from somewhere else, hold it for at least a year before Chase is going to consider you for one of their cards. So if that's you, if you're completely new to credit watching this video, you probably don't need to watch the rest because you need to go out and figure out how you're going to get that first credit card. Now, if you do have a little bit of a credit history and you are coming to Chase for the first time, but you're not sure that you can be approved for a $5,000 credit line, you know, you have credit lines that are significantly less than that, and you don't know if you are ready to make that jump, then probably what you want to do is go after one of the Chase Freedom cards first. Now, it doesn't necessarily matter which one you go after. I think they're pretty much the same in terms of your approval odds. However, I think what you would probably want to do is look at the features of each one and think about how it complements or goes along with any credit cards you have. So in most cases, if you don't have a significantly, good credit card in terms of rewards, I would probably tell you to get the Chase Freedom Unlimited card first because of the fact that it is a 1.5% flat cashback card, but in the first year it is doubling all of your earnings on that card. So that means you're going to get 3% on all your purchases in the first year. So if you maybe have one or two credit cards, but maybe they have measly rewards or no rewards at all, well, then that's a pretty nice place to start. Getting a 3% reward in the first year, 3 points per dollar in the first year is a pretty nice way to start your history with Chase. On the other hand, you might want to start with the original Chase Freedom card. The Chase Freedom card gives you 5% back, or 5 points per dollar back, on purchases that you make in certain categories that change each calendar quarter. So every 3 months, Chase changes the places where you can earn 5% or 5 points per dollar. The good news is that when this happens every 3 months, often the places that they're changing to are things that you buy on a regular basis, sort of everyday purchases. So oftentimes it is gas, it may be groceries, sometimes it's home improvement purchases. Around the holidays, it may be large retailers. Whatever the case may be, they are going to give you 5% on certain purchases during certain times of the year, and those are going to change. Now, the downside to that is you can't for sure predict what those are going to be. However, if you are someone that does have a couple credit cards and maybe you have one that has decent rewards already, well, then maybe it would be good to couple the original Chase Freedom with these 5% categories with whatever cards you already have in order to get your benefits that way. Now, the Chase Freedom card only offers 1% back, or 1 point per dollar, on any other purchases that you make outside of those 5% purchases. So that is something to take into consideration again as you think about it with any other credit cards that you have. Oh, and that Chase Freedom also offers a potential $150 bonus if you spend $500 with the card in the first 3 months of having it as of the making of this video. Now, if you're starting with one of the Chase Freedom cards, building toward that Chase Trifecta, it doesn't necessarily matter which one you get first. Go for whichever one feels right to you based on your spending, based on what other cards that you may have, because in reality, you are going to want both of these cards eventually. So when you choose one, you should be doing it knowing that you are going to want that other card, because a point here in having the trifecta is that we want to be able to get multiple Chase cards in order to combine the points that we get. So we might want that base from the Chase Freedom Unlimited, 3% in the first year, 1.5% every year after that, and then we're going to want those 5% categories from the regular Chase Freedom card, and then we're going to want to couple them with one of the Chase Sapphire cards or the Ink business card that I talked about in order to get that boost when we redeem them toward travel. So the whole idea here is to sort of have this dynamic where you are getting the maximum number of points from every purchase, and then you are getting a boost when you use them toward travel with one of these Sapphire cards or the Ink card. So if you need both Chase Freedom cards, should you just apply for both of them at the same time? Well, it's possible that this could work for some people. In general, I would probably recommend you getting one and waiting at least a few months before getting the other. However, if you apply and you are approved immediately and you get a decent credit line, maybe it's $2,000 or $3,000, well then maybe you're in a position where even the next day you could go back and take a shot at the other one, because you probably have a credit history that isn't too bad, and it's probably not going to hurt you to have a couple of hard inquiries right in a row. However, if you apply and you get a very small credit line, they could approve you for as little as $500. Well, then that would tell you they're probably not going to approve you for the next card all that quickly. And if you apply for it and you don't even get it immediately, you don't get an immediate approval, and you have to provide more information, or there's some question about your history, well then that also tells you that they're looking at you a little closer and that you're probably unlikely to get approved for the other Chase Freedom card all that quickly. You're gonna have to get a little more history under your belt with Chase before you're going to get that next card. I think in most cases you're probably going to want to wait at least 3 months and get a little bit of history with Chase before you try again, because if Chase doesn't know you at all, they're probably not going to approve you for 2 cards at the same time. Now, if you get one or both of the Chase Freedom cards, you are probably going to have to wait a year after that before you have any hope of being approved for one of the Chase Sapphire cards or the Ink Business Preferred card. So what you should do during that year is not redeem any of those points that you earn, because you could get cash back for them or you could redeem them in other ways, but you are trying to hold on to those points in order to get that boost toward travel rewards when you get one of the other premium cards from Chase. So you don't want to go and use the rewards you're getting. You want to be patient, hold on to them so that you can get extra beyond face value for those points once you have the premium cards. All right, so this brings us to the Chase Sapphire cards as well as the Ink Business Preferred card. If you are someone that has some credit history, you may be able to start with one of these cards and disregard what I just said about the Chase Freedom cards and get those later, or maybe you'll want to start with those. It all depends on you. But if you have the credit history, you could start with one of the Chase Sapphire cards. If you don't have the credit history to qualify for one of those, well then maybe you've already gotten to this point through getting the Chase Freedom cards. So that said, let's look at these cards in terms of the bonus that they give on the travel rewards when used through the Chase travel portal. So the Chase Sapphire Preferred is going to give you a 25% boost when you take your points and you redeem them toward travel through the Chase Ultimate Rewards portal. The Chase Sapphire Reserve is going to give you a 50% boost on those points when you use them towards travel through the portal. The Ink Business Preferred card is also going to give a 25% boost like the Sapphire Preferred. Now, I don't think you should make your choice between these cards based on that 25% or 50% boost, because the cards are very different in terms of features offered and the annual fee that you will pay. So it is going to depend on, what your spending patterns are, how much you spend on your cards. In general, you're going to want to look at these sort of removed from the idea of whether it's a 25% boost or a 50% boost, because in the end it could be a wash unless you are someone that really spends a lot on your cards and spends a lot in certain purchasing categories. So let's look at each one of these cards individually. The Chase Sapphire Preferred card has a $95 annual fee. It gives you 2 points per dollar on your travel and dining purchases, 1 point per dollar on everything else that you buy with the card. Like I said earlier, it has a 60,000 point bonus opportunity. When you redeem those points through the Chase Ultimate Rewards portal, they would get a 25% boost, so you could think of that as being $750 in travel. Now the Chase Sapphire Reserve, on the other hand, has a $450 annual fee. It does have a $300 travel credit, so assuming you could use the card often enough to meet that $300 travel credit, you could think of the annual fee as being effectively $150. In terms of everyday earnings, you're going to get 3 points per dollar on travel purchases, 3 points per dollar on dining purchases, 1 point per dollar everywhere else. You can compare those 3 points per dollar to the 2 points per dollar of the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Now, the Chase Sapphire Reserve does have airport lounge access through the Priority Pass feature. You do get a credit for global entry or TSA pre-check if you do those programs. So there are some other extras on the Chase Sapphire Reserve as well. So then the question, of course, is which one of these should you choose? In my opinion, if you are going to spend $10,000 or more with this card, you should probably get the Chase Sapphire Reserve, assuming that you can qualify for it because of the fact that it's going to give you more points on travel and dining. It's going to give you that 50% boost. Maybe that airport lounge access is attractive to you, but the more you spend, the more it is going to make sense to have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, especially if you spend on travel. I usually recommend the Chase Sapphire Preferred only for people that are a little unsure of what they are going to do. If they think they want a travel card, but they're not ready to, commit to a $450 annual fee and knowing that they're going to, have to hit the $300 travel credit or whatever, then maybe I would say the Chase Sapphire Preferred. But I think for most people, I would probably say the Chase Sapphire Reserve is the way to go if you feel confident that you are going to spend somewhat heavily on the card. Now, I would tell you that if you're not going to spend heavily on one of these cards, then you probably shouldn't get either one of them, because even with that travel boost, you're really not going to get great rewards beyond the annual fee unless you're spending at least, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 with this card per year, because you have to pay that annual fee. It always feels like you're going to get more than you are when you are getting these everyday rewards, but when you really do the math, unless you spend a lot on the card, you don't necessarily, get a lot beyond the break-even point. Now, you may think I forgot about the Chase Inc. Business Preferred card, but I did not. This is an alternative to one of the Chase Sapphire cards as sort of your core card to get that boost on the travel rewards. If you are a small business owner, this is a very attractive card. I actually think it is the best small business card on the market. This is a card that has a $95 annual fee. It has a bonus opportunity as of the making of this video of 80,000 points. If you spend $5,000 in the first 3 months of having it, you are going to get 3 points per dollar on a host of different purchases. So if you're a small business owner and you can hit travel, shipping, internet, cable, phone, these different categories here, then you really could do well with this card. And maybe it's even a card that you would get alongside the other cards here to round out your quadfecta if you wanted to get 4 cards. So this is definitely one that is worth taking a look at if you are a small business owner. That 25% boost on top of, all this other stuff, this could be the core card for you. So in the end, the Chase Trifecta is one of the Chase Sapphire cards, both of the Chase Freedom cards, perhaps the Chase Inc. Business Preferred card as either an addition to get you to the quadfecta, meaning 4 Chase cards, or maybe switched out for one of the Chase Sapphire cards. But the goal is to get those extra points on so many different purchases from these cards, then bring all those points together, combine them into one of the cards that gives you that 25% or 50% boost when redeemed toward travel through the Chase Ultimate Rewards portal. Now, like I said earlier, if you can't qualify for one of the premium cards, the Sapphire cards or the Inc. Business card, well, then you're going to want to start with the Freedom cards. But if you're in the position right now to start with one of these Sapphire cards or the Inc. Business Preferred card, I would probably tell you to start there because of the fact that you've got some nice bonuses as we're making this video, and you often want to jump on the bonuses when you know what they are and you know that they are good. Sure, they could get even better in the future, but more likely they're going to get worse if you don't go after them when you have the opportunity. So that is the strategy that I would use if I had the option. Obviously, if you don't have the option, then you're going to have to start on the Freedom end and work your way up. So that's it for this video. I hope it made some sense. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comments section below and I will try to answer them. If you're someone that already has the trifecta or the quadfecta and there are things that I left out or that I got a little wrong or whatever, I would love to hear about those in the comments section also. Otherwise, I thank you for watching, and as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews, I have personal finance news, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thank you for watching. Bye.